What was your major takeaway? Like, are you feeling bullish about this team? I know it's easy to say that, harder to say come the springtime, but do you like what he did?
I really do. I mean, it's
Yeah.
everyone wants the guy in the free agency to go out and just sign everybody, and we got them all, and oh, we'll make that guy, he'd fit with us. We signed him. We signed that guy. Oh, we need a D-man. There's the best one in the class. We signed him. It doesn't work like that. It's difficult as hell, especially with cap constrictions. And I think that when you look at what he did in his body of work, I mean, there was a week there where we're texting going, we just got Bertuzzi. Oh, imagine we got Domi too. Oh, we got Klingberg. And it's like, nice. It's like all the little boxes that we needed checked. He went off, and as best as he could do with what he had available and the cap considerations, he went check, check, check on a lot of boxes. Do I wish we could go throw a Charlie McAvoy in there, a stud D-man, or a Roman Yossi or something? Like, of course I do, but it wasn't in the cards. I would love to bolster the defense a little bit more, but I think he checked a ton of boxes. I look at what we lost from last year at this point in time to what we have now. I think we are a much better roster than we were last year, and I'm excited about it. I'm bullish on it for sure.
Yeah, generally speaking, I agree with you. I think knowing what we know about Brendan Shanahan, the Shanahan plan, if you want to call it that, I can't believe it's been pretty much a decade since Shanahan came into the mix here. But knowing what we did, even after Dubas's departure, how unlikely it was that one of the core four was going to get moved, I think all things considered, TRELIVING did a pretty good job of changing the DNA of this team, right? I do truly feel the Leafs will be a tougher team to play against in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's not going to be all about skill. They're going to be dragging guys into the fight. I do, and again, the proof will be in the pudding in the spring if we do see different results. But at the very least, I think it's a different team. I think, quite frankly, maybe they sacrifice a bit in a regular season to play more of that longevity style hockey that is accustomed to winning in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I think TRELIVING came in with a plan. That's the biggest thing I was looking at from the new GM here.
But you care nothing about the regular season, right? It's all about the playoffs.
Exactly.
And
That's
what this team needs to do. I mean, the 115 point seasons mean nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You're building a team. I don't know if this generation, this day and age, this era of the NHL, if we're in, if it's more drastic than it ever has been between the difference in style of play between the playoffs and the regular season. It might be, but there's no doubt that teams that go flourish in the regular season and dipsy doodle and no one's getting hit and they flourish with their skill, they get into the playoffs, it becomes a war, guys bear down, a lot of stuff's let go, it's a lot more physical, it's a lot more intense, and those teams go bye-bye in the playoffs. That's very apparent in this day and age and in this NHL. And I think the Leafs have certainly fallen victim to it in the past. And it seems like they are aware of it and they've tried to address it. And this team looks more suited for playoff hockey than they have in a long time. And they did it without sacrificing, some of their big boys and their big dogs. And those guys are still there to razzle dazzle and put up the big points and have that steady offense that, hopefully they have room now to do that in the playoffs because they got a more well-rounded team.
I think last year showed me everything I need to know. Like, the Florida Panthers just got in there, barely got in there, and got all the way to the Stanley Cup final. The Vegas Golden Knights were an afterthought. We were all talking about the Edmonton Oilers, how they're going to steamroll to the Stanley Cup final. Round 2 hits. I'm actually in Vegas for that series, and the Oilers had no match for the Golden Knights. Like, it just shows you truly, and again, maybe it's the land of parity in this NHL world, Rosie. Just get in. Anything could happen. Having said that, I am forecasting a pretty monstrous season for the Leafs, but I do like the fact that they addressed maybe how different they need to look when it matters most. And I think some of the snarl they brought in maybe is a bit overrated, but it's a way different team in terms of look and how they look on the ice than it was in the past, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I agree with you. And don't forget the Boston Bruins last year. I just don't think that's talked about enough. That fall from grace is absolutely mind-numbing at how off the board that would be for anybody's predictions. It's just wild. And, I agree with what you're saying. I think the regular season to me is going to show there's going to be some major decisions being made on, are we making a run for it? What are we doing with Nylander? The guys that we've talked about, Nick Robertson, are we moving pieces around to add that last little bit? Like, do we need that stud D-man? Do we need some physicality on the back end in order to go in to the playoffs with, total confidence in this well-rounded group? Whatever we're missing, it's going to be interesting come trade deadline after Christmas, that kind of thing on what TRELIVING does, especially with Nylander and with some of the things that he's going to get put on a time crunch here before long. It's not now like people think it is, but it's going to happen here this year. And to see what happens and what it looks like after the trade deadline is going to be interesting, I think.